In 1626, a Dutch merchant stepped off a boat onto a narrow island at the edge of the known world. The land beneath his feet had been home to the Lenape people for thousands of years. He paid them 60 guilders worth of trade goods for it. Nobody, not the Lenape, not the Dutch, not anyone alive, could have imagined what this island would become. This is Manhattan. Before the skyscrapers, before the grid, before anyone called it New York. Thanks to new advanced AI software, we can now recreate these scenes with unprecedented accuracy. By analyzing actual 17th century maps, Dutch colonial records, and period engravings, we're able to show how Manhattan is likely to have looked. The forests, the tidal marshes, the first wooden structures of a settlement that didn't yet have a name. What you're seeing is the southern tip of Manhattan Island, thick with oak and hickory forest, cut through by streams that no longer exist. The Lenape called this place Mannahatta, Island of Many Hills. They were right. Before European settlers leveled it for development over the next 2 centuries, Manhattan was a landscape of dramatic ridges and valleys. Right now, roughly 200 Dutch settlers are living in a cluster of small wooden buildings at the island's southern tip. They are cold, frequently hungry, and extraordinarily far from home. They have no idea they are founding the most consequential city in human history. This is Fort Amsterdam, completed around 1635, sitting at the very tip of Manhattan, where the Hudson and East Rivers meet. The wooden walls you see here, hastily built, perpetually in need of repair, enclosed the entire European settlement. Inside, a counting house, a church, a windmill, and a barracks. This is where the story of New York begins, not with grandeur, but with a leaking roof and a dispute over who was supposed to fix it. The Dutch West India Company, which founded and funded this colony, was not interested in building a civilization. They were interested in beaver pelts. New Amsterdam was, at its core, a commercial enterprise, a trading post dressed up as a town. And yet, that instinct for commerce would define New York forever. Stand today on the corner of Broadway and Wall Street, half a mile from where you're looking now, and you are standing in the spiritual heir to this muddy fort. The DNA of global finance runs directly from that counting house to the New York Stock Exchange. This is the northern boundary of New Amsterdam in the 1650s. A wooden palisade wall stretching from the Hudson River to the East River across the width of Manhattan. It was built not to impress, but out of fear. Director General Peter Stuyvesant ordered its construction in 1653, convinced that the English colonies to the north were planning to attack. The wall was about 12 feet high, reinforced with wooden planks and sharpened stakes. It was, by most accounts, not particularly effective. When the English did come, in 1664, with 4 warships and 300 soldiers, they didn't attack the wall. They simply anchored in the harbor and sent a letter demanding surrender. Stuyvesant wanted to fight. His own citizens talked him out of it. The English took New Amsterdam without firing a single shot, renamed it New York after the Duke of York, and tore the wall down 20 years later. The road that ran along the wall's southern edge, they called it Wall Street. Before any of this, there were people here. The Lenape had lived on Manhattan and the surrounding region for at least 10,000 years before European contact. They were not passive inhabitants of this landscape. They actively managed it, using controlled burning to maintain hunting grounds, cultivating crops in the island's fertile valleys, fishing the teeming waters of the harbor. The Manhattan that the Dutch encountered was not a wilderness. It was a garden. The famous purchase of Manhattan, 60 guilders in trade goods, was almost certainly a profound misunderstanding of intentions on both sides. The Lenape concept of land use was communal and seasonal. They likely believed they were granting the Dutch shared access to the land, not permanent exclusive ownership. By the end of the 1600s, the Lenape had been pushed entirely off the island, casualties of disease, displacement, and conflict. The city that replaced their world became the most valuable piece of real estate on Earth. This is the Strand, the waterfront along the East River that served as the commercial heart of New Amsterdam. The wooden docks you see here were perpetually crowded with small cargo vessels, sloops and pinnaces carrying beaver pelts, timber, and grain south toward the Caribbean and Europe, returning with cloth, hardware, and the small luxuries that made frontier life bearable. What made New Amsterdam unusual, even in these early years, was its diversity. By the 1640s, visitors reported hearing 18 different languages spoken in its streets, a staggering number for a settlement of only a few hundred people. Dutch, English, French, German, Portuguese, Swedish, and multiple African languages spoken by enslaved people brought here by the Dutch West India Company. New Amsterdam was diverse not by design, but by commerce. The company took workers wherever it could find them. That character, chaotic, polyglot, driven by the logic of trade rather than ethnic or religious purity, would persist. New York has been a city of arrivals ever since. By 1664, the Dutch chapter of New York's story was over. But look carefully, and you can still find them everywhere. The street plan of Lower Manhattan, the crooked, organic tangle that drives visitors mad and gives the financial district its character, is essentially the Dutch footprint, preserved beneath centuries of construction. The names, Harlem from Harlem, Brooklyn from Brooklyn, the Bowery from Bowery, meaning farm. The cultural instincts. The Dutch were uniquely tolerant by 17th century standards, and that tolerance became New York's inheritance. Even the word Yankee is almost certainly derived from Jan Kees, a common Dutch name that the English used mockingly to describe Dutch settlers, a nickname that eventually the whole country claimed as its own. History has left us maps, letters, and legal documents from this extraordinary period. Fragments frozen in time, waiting to be brought back to life. The city that grew from this muddy Dutch trading post would go on to absorb millions of immigrants, survive fires and wars and financial collapses, and become the nervous center of the modern world. None of that was inevitable. All of it started here, on a narrow island at the edge of the known world, with 60 guilders and a misunderstanding. So, tell us in the comments, which city would you like to see next? Your choice could be featured in our next video. If you enjoyed this brief history, we have more coming. Support us by subscribing to this channel, like the video, and share with your loved one. Thanks for watching.